Sorry. Sorry, something, I got kicked out. Hold on one second. All righty, we have our participants joining. We'll just wait a couple more seconds as everybody gets in. All right. Welcome, everyone. You are joining the Grantee Showcase session. This is our second session today, so welcome. I still see more people joining. So I'm going to wait a little bit before we move on to the disclaimer. Again, you are joining the Grantee Showcase session. This is our second session of the day. Let's go ahead and get disclaimed.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
All right, now that we've got this claimed, I'm just so pleased to be able to bring to you some of the amazing OIE grantee programs. We reached out to these programs that we're going to feature today to really ask them to share the innovative aspects of their program, what they're trying to achieve, and just share their strategies that they're doing in order for you to maybe learn and understand what they're doing and maybe implement something that is of interest to you, or also learn maybe how some of these grantees have overcome challenges and have done some really amazing and innovative approaches. Before we get started, I really want to remind you that please, if you have any questions for our featured programs, go ahead and you can either put them in the chat or in the Q&A tab. And that Q&A tab should be in your Zoom toolbar. It's normally between the chat button and the share button. There's a QA, I guess, tab or button or tool that you can click on. And we will, as we go through, you can ask your questions and we'll take a time after each program to have your questions answered. So let's get started. Our first presenter today is Dr. Camille Locklear-Goins. She is from the University of North Carolina, Pembroke's First Americans Educational Leadership Program. Hi, Camille, go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to be with you this afternoon and to present on our project at UNC Pembroke. You can go ahead to the next slide, please. So our program began in 2018. We are a PUI 2018 grantee, and this was the first time that we had the opportunity to get the administrator's grant. So we were really excited to be able to offer this in our graduate program and offer the opportunity for participants to engage in a leadership program specifically focused on preparing them to be school leaders in highly populated American Indian school districts. We had 3 distinct goals when we wrote the grant, and that was to increase the number of highly qualified American Indian administrators, primarily in Robeson County, and we also partnered with Hoke County and Scotland counties. In this process, students were provided the opportunity to gain a full MSA degree, Master's in School Administration, or we also have the program where they can do an add-on if they had an existing master's degree and they would complete the licensure program. And so each of our participants had the opportunity to choose either one of those programs and then obtain licensure as a principal. Our second goal was to provide mentoring support. This was really important part of our program, and a primary focus was to provide that mentoring support both pre-service and once they became employed as an administrator. So as students entered into the MSA program, they were assigned a mentor that worked with them throughout the program and continued that process once they graduated and attained employment. And then the third goal was to improve the first 2 years of their administrative practice. So that's where we focused on the induction support services and creating a very comprehensive induction support plan for each participant once they gained their position, and as well as providing that continuous mentoring support. Next slide, please. Some of our best practices that seem to work well within our program, of course, was partnering with those districts and providing an extensive recruitment process, advertising our program, going out to those school districts and sharing what we were doing, what we were trying to accomplish, and hoping to help support those districts, not only with supporting them with a highly qualified administrator once they graduated, but also providing them some professional development support. So within that partnership, I and some of our participants, while they were in the program, actually provided professional development throughout the district. So that helped to increase our partnership in those districts. The financial support was very helpful for our participants to reduce many of the barriers that they were facing that were inhibiting them from pursuing an MSA degree. And with that financial support, it gave them the opportunity to pursue that degree. In addition to that, they were given the professional development, but not only the professional development, they were offered opportunities to attend national and state conferences that they would not have had without that financial support. And then, of course, some of our participants were had families that they needed to support, so the dependent care and even the stipend was very beneficial to many of our participants to continue to pursue the MSA degree. Job placement assistance was highly important, and as we get into some of our results, you'll see how that job placement assistance helped. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the mentoring and induction support. One additional component that we added was allowing the participants to choose membership in a professional organization, and that financial assistance helped to pay for that membership throughout the 5 years that they were in the program. So as a way to network and then learn more about the educational practice, not only within their district, but across the state and the nation. Next slide, please. One very important component of our project was the Leadership Academy. We had 2 cohorts to come into our program, 2019 and then 2020. So we had 2 transformative leadership academies that expanded over a period of a year. Participants were involved in these leadership academies beginning in the summer prior to or during their internship. So while they were still in school obtaining their degree, they were getting this leadership academy that was connected with cultural leadership. So we worked with a consultant group that provided this intense transformative leadership academy where students engaged in a real world project that allowed them to implement this project with the Plan, Do, Study Act during their internship. So while they were being supported by a principal leader in the school that they were located at, they were implementing a school-based project, and it had a STEM focus. So UNCP offers multiple STEM programs. So they were able to connect with the university and the school, providing professional development at the school, providing providing after-school programs for students, centered on STEM. There were STEM family nights. Also, there was workshops offered to UNCP teachers, and students were involved in that by UNCP student science buddies coming out to the school. So it was a collaborative effort between UNCP and the students while they were working in their internship. So the project was fully implemented. And at the end of the Leadership Academy, they presented these projects before a panel, not only at UNCP, but also members of their school district, which was also an incentive for them to have leaders who would potentially hire them see their capabilities of being successful as a future administrator. Next slide, please. So what were our outcomes? The biggest thing is finding out, did this work? Did the things that we implement and try, did it work? So our goal was to recruit 20 participants. We were successful at recruiting 22 participants. And of those 22 participants, 95% graduated and completed the program. Of those 95%, 100% have gained licensure as an administrator. Out of the 22 participants, 77% have found a qualifying position and are currently receiving induction support services or have received induction support services, as we have 3 participants who have completed their payback obligation as of May. By June, we anticipate that we'll have more participants who have completed their payback obligations. 3 participants have presented at national conferences, including NIEA, partnering with NIEA to present on a project that they were involved in with Discovery Education. 3 participants, and expanding on that, those participants were featured in the Good Medicine Bundle. And I have a link here because this was a process. As they were teachers, they implemented the Good Medicine Bundle in collaboration with NIA and Discovery Education to emphasize the impact of substance abuse in Native American communities. So teaching students skills to overcome that and being able to support those students in that school. And it was an excellent project. So 3 of our members, 3 of our participants were featured in that project. One of our participants, and we'll see a video shortly of them, it serves on our North Carolina State Advisory Council for American Indians. So not only are they working as administrators, they are leading in their community and they're leading in their state. And we're very, very supportive of what they're doing and continue to provide them professional development throughout the span of the project. Even during induction services, we're continuing to provide professional development and support to help them continue to be successful in their roles as administrators. As you know, COVID was something. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, one more statement. COVID can we go back to the previous slide for just a moment? Yes, COVID did have an impact on having scores available with testing in our state. It did impact one of our participants from not being able to graduate, but fortunately, all of our other participants, with the extensive support that we reached out to them and did help them to complete our program and find that qualified employment. But I did collect some data based on the schools that our participants were employed with the 21-22 school year, and across 18 schools in which our participants were employed. And this includes those participants who are not administrators, but are still teachers. 72% of those schools met or exceeded growth. So that does show that they are making an impact in the schools and the districts that they are working in. Next slide, please. And the next few slides are a few of our highlighted pictures. So on the left side, I think that's myself and one of our participants presenting at the Hawaii International Conferences on the Fall Project, as well as some of the cultural leadership practices that have been implemented into the schools. In the middle, I presented at the NASAI conference on the project, as well as some of the professional development that we've done throughout the 5-year span of the project. And then on the right, my right, maybe different on your side, but interactive engagement, cultural-based resources operation. This is the 2 participants that presented at the NIEA conference in 2021. So we were really excited about having the opportunity to present at these national conferences about things that we were doing in our university and within our districts that our participants have been able to engage in over the last few years. Next slide, please. And then I do want to highlight, we have multiple graduation events, as you see, some with masks on, as we did continue to go through COVID, and follow those guidelines as they were going through graduation. But these are just a few of our pictures of our students. There were many more times that students graduate and we don't have those pictures captured, but these are just a few of the highlights of them being able to complete an administrative program while being while having a family, while working full time. It really just shows their resilience and being able to succeed. And most of these individuals illustrated here in these pictures are currently serving as school administrators. Next slide, please. I do want to share one final video testimony. We had several of our participants to provide testimonies. This is one of our participants who's serving on the North Carolina State Advisory Council, and he is also a current principal. He served as an assistant principal for 1 year in Robeson County, and now he is a current principal finishing up his first year as a principal. But this is his testimony during his involvement with the program. It's about 30 seconds, so I would like to share that. You can play that.
1 second, let me just switch my screens.
Okay.
Right there. Share. And then, wait, I have all my mess here.
Yeah, if you click on fall participant test, okay, yeah, there it is.
What I feel like I've been allowed to do through the FAEL program is use my passion and put my passion at the forefront of the conversation. I believe culture is synonymous with success. After being in that classroom for 3 years, I realized I wanted to be as much of an advocate for students as I could be. And one of the things that I want to do in an administrative capacity is bridge that gap between mainstream education and Indigenous cultural norms, so that they're not seen as separate entities, but they can come together so we can have a holistic success story for our Indigenous students.
Awesome.
Thank you. I do want to add one more thing. Not only am I a project director and a university professor and have worked with these participants, but I also have children in the district who are being served by these administrators. And that individual you just saw, Mr. Jeremiah Moore, is actually my youngest child's principal this year. So it's just really exciting to see the great things that they're doing and what they're doing for this community and serving our Indigenous students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's get back to the. All right, thank you. So let me just take a moment before we move on to our next presenter. There's Camille's information if you want to contact her. Let me just check the chat to see if there are any questions. Take a moment for you folks. Maybe you need to digest a little bit and you want to pop in a question. Oh, we're getting some so inspiring. Thank you. Great. Okay. Any other questions? Again, you might, a question might pop in your head a little later on. We will have other opportunities for you to ask a question. Yeah, it was a really great presentation. You're right, Allison. Okay. So let's see, shall we move forward with our next presenter? I want to open this up to Talia. Are you on?
I am. I just needed to unmute myself. Hello, everybody.
Hi. Okay, great.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today. And apologies, I'm going to try and keep my focus on the screen that has the camera because I have about 4 monitors up. So bear with me. I am looking at you in a sense.
Yeah.
So again, hello. My name is Talia Landry. I come from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And one of our big projects within this grant that I am managing that is direct services to our students is the recreation of a traditional pre-contact Wampanoag village. So this will represent, the 1800s, is even earlier than that. It develops a whole pre-contact home site, which includes not only like the actual homes of us, but also the different activities that we would be doing. such as, a maritime space that has recreation area. It also has just like a ceremonial aspects of it as well. And then we also represent different homes styles that we would typically be living in within that time. So we would have summer homes, which are small single individual family homes that are covered with mats. And we'll have several of these, and then we'll lead your seasons all the way to our winter home, which is our big long house that is a multifamily home. We're hoping to get at least for a fire family home that would be at least 30 to 40 foot, and that's covered in bark. So it's the purpose of this is for cultural revitalization, but also to educate the tribal community and general public on accurate Wampanoag history through this interactive pre-contact home site. So it's proposed to occupy 3 to 5 acres of land, even more if we can get it. And as I mentioned, the visitor travel seasonal homestead sites. Can you go to the next slide, please? So our mission within this is what I like to say is to recreate Moshup's village, because the proposed site location that we have this village is actually dated back to one of our stories, one of our giant stories of Moshup and where he lived. And there's actually archaeological finds that have, the actual accuracy of where certain village sites within or with different sites within this location is actually there. So within my mission, I say to recreate Moshup's village in efforts to traditionally educate the tribal community and general public, as I said, on accurate Wampanoag history and culture through interactive pre-contact homestead exhibits. And the plan to recreate Moshup's village will support tribal and social convergence through the arts, cultural preservation, and education to enhance the relationship with the entire local community. So our vision is to recreate the village in a traditional, safe environment for the tribal community to learn, work, and thrive while exposing the local community and its educators to Indigenous knowledge and history. So mutual understandings amongst the cultures is within a shared community to contribute to the thriving environment while we boost, our local economy and attracting educational institutions and tourism at the same time. So as you can see, I put a little snippet of, this is a small structure that we have at our small museum that's in town. And this is kind of how we utilize it within our own programming with our youth. I'm not sure if you could hear it, but they basically are going over some language things and they get really excited. And it's just showing the comparison of the modern and with the traditional and how our kids are still thriving and learning in that environment and how, they can be proud of themselves and their history. And how they can share it with their peers, because a lot of this has to do with our partnerships with our districts. So a big just background within this project is that there is they call it Plymouth Plantation. So it's a interactive museum that is, where Plymouth Rock is, and they have a Wampanoag portion of it. And within the creation of it, it did have authentic Wampanoag people working on it. And it was this magnificent thing. And through the years, it has diminished. They have completely taken out Wampanoag people. They've put in non-natives to interpret and put on the programming. So obviously it has come to a point where it's not authentic. And even when the Wampanoags were when we were there and working there, there was still kind of animosity because the settlers village wasn't accurate because they were, they weren't showing what actually they were living like with, our heads outside of their houses and stuff like that. So they were trying to show a moderate version of history that we didn't agree with. So it has been a struggle throughout the years, but basically we got to a point where the tribe has vocalized their non-support of this museum. So within our partnerships, because a lot of school districts were going to this museum to check off their box within 3rd and 5th grade with their curriculum requirements, they actually nulled their field trip to there. So now within our districts, it was kind of one of those things like, hey, get rid of this field trip that is not very accurate, and you can be exposed to this nice village before the general public is. You'll be able to be part of us building it and seeing the youth interact and learn all these traditional skills. And we're, allowing our partner school districts to be exposed to that first. Can we go to the next slide? So basically within this, within our studies and within our grant, we wanted to provide the solutions to these problems that we're noticing within our school districts. And within not only the treatment towards our youth, but also just within the way that they teach our youth and the history that they're teaching our youth, because we're right here. And like I said, in 3rd and 5th grade, they directly talk about Wampanoags, and we're still out of the conversation in some districts as far as us being the tribe in the education department. So this provides that solution to give accurate history, and teachers want it. That's what we've realized with our work, is that the teachers around us genuinely want to deliver the accurate information, but there's not as much, it's not accessible, as we know. We're not as apparent in the mainstream as media that they're given when they go to college, because they all go to different places. So that's something that we're trying to provide within this. And as I said before, a big part of this is teaching the youth and really rekindling that fire within them to learn about their culture, within their self-identity, because we have been in contact for over 400 years, and that assimilation is very apparent within our youth nowadays, and it's the disconnect is really affecting their success rate throughout the education system, and they're not understanding why they're not being successful, and they're blaming themselves when it's a lot of the outside things that they have to deal with being a Native person and having to assimilate and be in this very fast-paced culture, but also be within our reservation lands. So it's kind of, that's the struggles that we see with our youth. So this is putting that back together again. And it's actually something that's been a long time coming. Can we go to the next slide? Actually, I don't want to jump. Okay, so this is kind of the process that it'll go to. We're actually starting our construction June 17th. So we haven't started construction yet, but we are starting construction on June 17th. And it starts with the men going out to harvest the materials, but then we turn it into a community day the next day, where we're all peeling bark, and we're enduring on that journey and learning together. And then it goes, on into the week, where there will be a specific mentor youth program, where there'll be experience builders teaching young adults, who are then teaching the youth as well. So it's kind of a 3-tier generational passing down of this knowledge, because there's not many men that know how to do this. And that was a big part of what I did as well, is within creating this big project, I created a cultural advisory council, because obviously I'm a young person that has no idea the magnitude of all of the intricacy involved within the programming of this, because not only are we just building this, we're teaching the youth. So there has to be specific programming that will teach the different aspects of this village, because it's not just, a building, it's the building, it's inside, it's us living there, it's our tools, it's our regalia, it's our blankets, it's everything, it's our cooking utensils. This is a living exhibit and village that, hopefully people would live there if we need to, because we do have a housing problem here on Cape Cod. But so I put together a group of culture advisors that are actually the original, I don't want to say advisors, but they were the people that did this Plymouth Plantation Museum when it first was created. So they're still here, even though they're elders, and some of them their healths are at risk, but they have agreed to sit on this board, where they have been advising me on what needs to be done, who needs to be talked to, what materials need to be gathered, what time to go about it. A big part of this was securing the location, because as I said, we were assimilated for very long. We actually just got our land in trust in 2015, and we've been battling with that for a long time now. And we actually just got it reestablished last year. So we only have about 600 acres and it's all scattered. So to have this 3 to 5 acre lot and even bigger, it's very hard to find tribal property that can hold this project of this magnitude that we want to be open to the public, because a lot of our lands are, used for ceremonial or sacred to us now that we don't want to, give it up. So within my journey of putting together this big proposal, this big business plan, and all the programming involved, I had to present to council on to identify which land that we can use. So within that, I actually was denied my request of what from the land use committee, but I still went to tribal council instead and said, I want to at least secure this farm property for a temporary site, but I'm also looking for your support and your, financial and legal and actual legislative support to go after town property that is originally ours. So that's something that the chairman signed off on, and we're working together to secure town property back so we could put this village. So we're secure it. I secured the temporary site to build the construction so we can start, you know, in 2 weeks. And at the same time, me and the chairman are meeting with the town manager and town planner and, you know, getting that process going to get back 12 acres of land that originally actually held a project like this that the town created in the 70s that they actually broke down because a land suit happened. So that was just a little history of it. But within that, a lot of this has to, this is more goes into the programming. So as you can see with the bulrush and cattail, that's how obviously the material that we harvest and then what we turn it into, as you can see within the walls of the maps. So that the magnitude of how we are going to develop the programming and the scheduling and developing the youth, adults, and the experienced culture keepers, that as we call them. We go to the next slide. And so again, I kind of rambled into my strategy because I wasn't really thinking ahead. So like I said, we developed the partnerships with the school districts. I developed the Cultural Advisory Council, who told me exactly what to do and how to do it. We identified the location, we secured the property, and now we're going forward. And if we could actually go forward, I could show you a little bit of how we presented this. Or do we have the links? Oh, so that's actually the farm property on the right, or my right. That is the temporary home site, and those are some of the youth that have been learning these skills. So we're hoping to get them involved within this village site because they're doing a smaller scale one at their school through our other after school program that we call Tribal Boys through the same grant. Is there another slide with those links? So within, if you go back to there, go back to
I'm just looking, I don't know, they disappeared. I think they might be, because we have gone through them earlier.
So basically what it was going to show you is within the strategy, as I mentioned, the challenge of the location is how far we wanted to expand it. We obviously have to present to non-natives and get them to grasp this concept. We were explaining to educators, but educators do have a feel within this because they know the curriculum, and we've been working with them for some time now. But having to present this to the general public, as far as the town planner and the town manager, we hired a tribal illustrator who's our architect who used graphic design to simulate what the village would look like. So you basically within the website, you kind of get a 360 view of what inside a wiki would look like, and then there's another rendering that shows kind of the whole outlay of it, and it shows the circle of going through the seasons as far as like when you come in, it being summertime, and you'll see the garden and what we do in the summer, the fishing, and then there are summer homes and the recreation, and then as you go to the fall and how it gets into the hunting, and it'll have like the high tanning and posts and things like that, the frames, and then you get all the way to the like what we call the grand finale is our 4-fire bark structure longhouse. That will be the hurrah of it all, and that's our last part of basically of the project that will take place next year. So this year we're focusing on the summer exhibits, and next year we'll be focusing on the winter exhibits with hopes to have that town property secured. Because if we don't have the town property secured, we obviously have to make plans for our own property, which I already did ahead of time, which is within, if you look at that the top picture of the fields where all those trees are, I actually already scheduled for a controlled burn to happen there, so we could kind of clear out the land a bit, and we could actually put the different structures, and it wouldn't be laid out as a circle, and it'd be more laid out as like a little trail. But that's our kind of our plan B. But as I said, this is a tribal farm, and not everybody, we're like, oh, we want to try and protect it as much as we can. So if we can get if we can get more land back and put this so the public can educate, and we could also have job creation in this awesome place, and then keep this, summer, this farm as our community place. The structures are easily transportable. There's a minor expense in transporting it. But as we're developing this plan, because it's becoming bigger and bigger, and obviously you're gonna have to manage it and go beyond if it's a, business or economic development after that, we're hoping to secure more funding so we can just leave whatever we make at the farm for our community, for, sort of when we're inviting people, because like next week, Deb Holland is coming to visit, and we're like, oh, wouldn't this been our public perfect place to meet? That it's, we're not sitting in the office, but we can talk to our people in a way that we're all comfortable and actually gather in our traditional way. So that is a likely goal of ours, if we could secure that town property back and secure more funding, is to actually just build more traditional structures around town in our ancestral lands.
Yeah, well, and I'm looking for the link. I found the link, but what I'm gonna do, if you don't mind, we're gonna move on, and then I can get this up and share it towards the end, because it's very cool, and I want you guys to be able to see it, because it's very cool. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So we'll circle back once I can get the link into this presentation, and then I want to show you, because again, it's very cool. All right, are there any questions? I just see a lot of love coming your way, like a lot of people really excited about this project. In the Q&A, it says, I'm glad to hear that local teachers have been supportive of having a more culturally accurate site. Have administrators express support also?
I'm sorry, can you say that question again?
Pardon?
Can you say that question again?
Sure. So Douglas is saying that he's glad to hear that local teachers have been supportive of having a more culturally accurate site. Have administrators expressed support also?
So yes, one of, at least within our school committees have expressed support within our partnering school districts, and then the one that we're directly in, which is Mashpee, that holds most of our students. The superintendent is very involved and intrigued and supportive of this. And one of our, big efforts to get the town land back is to consolidate those support letters from administration. That includes this, not only the school committees, but superintendents and principals of all of the partnering school districts.
Mhm. Awesome.
As I said, they have a field trip to make up for. So I mean, they publicly bashed them in the newspaper, and it kind of worked out. I mean, it didn't come from me, but it did work out with the timing.
I love it when it works out, that's for sure. There's another question. Allison is asking, how are you doing the community outreach to non-Native community members?
So most of our outreach right now is through the educational institutions. So through our partnering school districts, and then just any of the institutions that we kind of serve, as far as just, that are locally around us, because we have different educational, like the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, Wacoya Bay Estuary, like organizations that we're already partnered with. That's kind of how we've been trying to at least spread the word. And we're not super silent right now, but we're being a little strategic as far as non-natives and how much they're knowing. They know that this is coming, and then they know that there's a plan. But obviously, because we're trying to acquire land back, we want to approach it in the safest and smartest way possible. So as I completely finalize, the proposal and the programming within it all, and the cultural advisors, and actually getting the contractors involved that are the experienced builders, it's at that stage of letting people know the magnitude and, getting people more on board for it. Because also when I talked to the town planner, he said they're working on a comprehensive plan for our town. And this is one of the, not suggestions, there wasn't a village, but the local community wants more history and tradition and culture to be exposed within our surroundings. And so we've realized that our community definitely supports us, and they're here for a reason. And they appreciate what is around them. Oh, so this is one of the renderings.
Yeah. Can you guys
Other
see that? So cool.
So obviously it's very, kind of not modest, but modest in a sense, because there would be much more intricacy of it all, because a lot of it is sustainability and being environmentally friendly. So we'll be using, our plants around us and trails and things like that to also educate more within it. So dependent on the actual location of the permanent spot will dictate the final layout. But as I said, this gives the general public that doesn't really quite understand when we say 17 or 1800s traditional home site, what that would look like.
Isn't that
Especially because we're going after more conservation land as well. And it's all conservation efforts within the material and reintroducing indigenous plants back into the environment.
so are these little structures like workhouses or what?
Yeah, so they're like lean-tos. So like, there'll be different like exhibits, whether it's like a recreation area where women are weaving, or, those certain things. We generally have little, shelters within our work area spaces traditionally. So that's kind of just to represent. They would all look a little different, but it's just to represent the different areas and what, that distinction of it.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you again. I'm glad I got to get that up and shared because that was very cool. And let's see, let me just check to see if there's any more questions. And then I'll go back to sharing my screen.
I'm excited to give updates after this, guys. So
Yeah. And it all gets built out for sure. Okay, well, I don't see, let me just check. Oh, no, I lied. Let's see, are the interiors going to have sample furnishings like baskets and housewares?
are the
Going to have,
actual exhibit?
yes,
Yes, so everything is going to be like fully furnished, because the intention is that people are going to work there and it's going to be a museum or interactive museum that visitors come and, districts, tourists and things like that. So everything will need to be dressed to that portion. As what we have for the grant right now, within this grant, we do have enough to actually build it up and to, furnish everything to make sure that we have all the materials with adding things along the way. But it's more the projection of the 5-year plan that we're looking for the funding for to like keep people going in management, like employees and stuff like that. So as far as the materials and stuff, that's everything. That's all within the proposal right now for all of the furnishings and everyday activity.
awesome. Brandon asked another question. Great work. How did the conversation begin on sharing the history and culture of your build and land acquiring within the community?
How did it begin? Well, as I mentioned briefly before, this concept has been done before, I guess. Within the 70s, the town of Mashpee had a grant where they built a village site in the same proposed area that I'm trying to acquire back. And within that, a land suit happened. So within those next few years, they took it down. But also within that, a police incident happened within that village. And I actually worked on the documentary called Mashpee 9, because there was 9 tribal members that were arrested for basically camping and hanging and like drumming. And because they had like a festival, not a festival, they just had a feast afterwards. They had clams, they had chowder, they had a fire, they had a drum as they were building things. So one night the police came in and it was very tactical and it was, very violent, and they threw him in the paddy wagon and took him off. And it was a long battle, but they were convicted, or they were not guilty of any charges of whatever they were trying to prove. So within that actually came out in 2016. So when that came out in 2016, a lot of like my generation, I worked on it, but a lot of my generation didn't know that happened. So it kind of sparked this new like, hey, this happened before. And they realized that we had more than just one single dark home behind a small museum that's only 500 square feet. And so I think that's kind of what struck this this spark that said, hey, this can actually happen again. So I think that is probably the biggest thing. And just having the elders around and talking about this. This is, as I say many times, this is not my idea. I'm just executing it. It's just meant to happen. And I'm just the manager that got put into the position, just going to get it done. But it's definitely not my idea. So the community needed it and it just came.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And thanks everybody for the great questions. I think we've answered them all. And so we will move on. Again, thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Yeah.
So I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Michelle Jacob. She will be our next presenter. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alani. Sheikh Bachwai, Inknashmanik Michelle Jacob, Washno Shaklamaknik, Kukunkash, University of Oregon, Subsequent Education Studies. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. If you've had a long day, feel free to get up and stretch, get a sip of water. I've learned from my Yakima elders, we need to treat our bodies well so that we can be well and do our best work. And so I invite you to do whatever you need to do to be comfortable. I'm so delighted to share with you today about our Subsequent program at the University of Oregon. I want to mention that I am honored to lead this program with Dr. Leilani Savzalian, a brilliant Alutiiq scholar who just last week got the notification that she has earned indefinite tenure and promotion to associate professor at our University of Oregon College of Education. So I just want to honor and acknowledge and express huge gratitude for my dear colleague, Dr. Savzalian. Now there are two of us, Indigenous professors who are tenured in the College of Ed at University of Oregon. And so that's huge for our community and everything that's possible in the future. And we can't wait to have more. A quick word about our program name, Sapsikwasla, means teacher in Ichishkin-Sinuit, my tribe's Indigenous language that we share with tribal peoples across the Columbia River Plateau. And we were gifted that program name by Umatilla peoples. And so we use that Umatilla spelling in our program name there. Our program began in 2002. Next slide, please. And here's a little bit of an overview of what I'm going to touch on today. Leilani did present about our program last year, so I'm going to try to give you some additional kind of context and approaches that we use in doing our work that we enjoy. We honor our cultural values as foundational for everything that we do in the program, which can be a challenge in a predominantly white institution of higher education, and particularly within a context that considers itself an elitist form of education, such as the College of Education at the University of Oregon. However, we know that whenever we honor our cultural values as most important in our work, we will always find a good way of moving forward. We will always find a good way of finding the support that we need to do the work that we want to do. And so as part of that, we need to really stay true to our program motto, which was gifted to us by Atwai Arlita Rohan, an elder from Warm Springs. And there at the bottom of the image, you can see our beautiful motto in Ichishkin-Sinuit, Subsequent Nami Tanamamiao, education strengthens our people. And so I just want to highlight that, because when we get busy in our day-to-day of the work that we do, you know, we can feel pushed and pulled in many directions. And so for us, it's so helpful to have the words of this beloved elder guiding us, that whenever we have to make a decision, or if we're trying to decide what to focus on, we always have this beautiful gift to pull our attention back to what's going to strengthen our people. That's why we're here, right? And so it's just a tremendous gift. So that whenever university bureaucracy or whatever gets a little crazy, we don't have to give our time and attention to that as much as this beautiful vision that our elder has provided. Next slide, please. So our program operates as a consortium with the 9 federally recognized tribal nations in the state of Oregon. And so we have a tribal advisory council, and we make all our important program decisions through consensus with our tribal advisory council, the members of whom are appointed by their tribal councils. So we're so blessed to have these amazing educational and tribal leaders to guide us, to have that wonderful presence at the table to make those decisions. What should our policies be? Which students should be admitted? How are we going to use our funding? I love that tribal education leaders get to say what happens at a state institution. That's really how it should be if we're honoring Indigenous self-determination in education. So we're a 12-month master's level program, focusing on training highly qualified American Indian Alaska Native teachers for K-12 settings that are high proportion American Indian Alaska Native students. So 12-month master's program means we are constantly recruiting, retaining, graduating, placing, recruiting, retaining, graduating, placing. So on graduation day, we celebrate our outgoing cohort, and the very next Monday, we welcome in the launching of the new cohort. So there's no breaks in our work. And we enjoy the heck out of our work, and we've built an amazing team. We obviously have huge support from our community. And so it's a real blessing for us. And how tough it is with the exclusionary practices of Western education in general, higher education in particular. We have to have people who hold that undergraduate degree in order to even be considered to fill out that application. And so our Tribal Advisory Council advised us, they said, you need to take a longer term approach to recruitment. You can't just recruit people who are graduating or maybe have their degree and thinking about coming back to school. They said, you need to reach further back and really cultivate and inspire and encourage more students earlier on. And we said, okay, we'll do that. Next slide, please. And so, wait, I'm sorry. Previous slide, please. Where are we? Intergenerational focus. Oh, it looks different. Oh, that's okay. So we started a Grow Your Own program. I think I've got my old draft that I'm looking at. Anyhow, I apologize. So we started a Grow Your Own program to accompany our main master's level program. And so that program outreaches to high school and undergraduate students and encourages them to consider becoming teachers. And the idea is to cultivate that next generation of wonderful students who could come through our program. And we went ahead and competed for grants from the state of Oregon and from foundations and have won funding. And we're really excited to have that Grow Your Own program launched now. And we've already seen 2 different cohorts successfully have students go through our GYO program and then into our master's level program. So we got awesome advice and support from our Tribal Advisory Council that is helping us to continue to excel for our main grant here from the OIE. All right, next slide, please. I've already mentioned the importance of elders. Something that we encourage students to think about is our traditional forms of education within our own communities and how elders are our most revered teachers. Yet when we look at mainstream K-12 settings and mainstream higher education settings, where are the elders? Typically, they're not there. Typically, they're not valued as educators. Maybe they'll have some kind of ad hoc guest speaker appearance, right? That's the typical model. We said, well, if we're going to honor our cultural values, we got to do things differently. And so Dr. Subzalian and I created a new position at the university, our distinguished elder educator. We're so honored that Tecumseh, Dr. Virginia Beaver, you can see she's right in the middle in that photo on the left, chooses to serve as our distinguished elder educator for a subsequent program. And students love learning from Tecumseh. That is often, they comment, that's the highlight of their program experience. And we love learning and collaborating with Tecumseh. And she is now 101 years young. She's our oldest elder in the Yakama Nation. I always like to joke around with her. She's 101 years young, because sometimes she'll be like, oh, I'm getting kind of old now. And I say, oh, but you had a grandmother who lived to 120, right? And she said, yeah, you're right. Okay. And so, you know, when we bring elders in, the paradigm just shifts. Everything gets better. Students are reminded about the power and importance of elders, their teachings, their models, just their insights. You know, I met with Tecumseh the other day, and when we concluded our meeting where we talked about different projects that we're working on and planning, she said, you know, her advice to me was, she said, you enjoy yourself. Isn't that nice? Elder wisdom, that sense of joy in our lives. She really wants to encourage all of us to remember that. And that's very much in line with our Yakama teachings, right? About like, yeah, what you do is important. How you do it matters just as much, maybe more. And so I love sharing that kind message from Tecumseh with folks I visit with, including you today. All right, we love our stories, our storytelling traditions. We honor this in our seminar we have with our subsequent students. One text that we use is the Enekui Wacha book. It's there on the left. That's Tecumseh and me. We're two of the co-editors. She is a main person who put this project together back in the 70s. And oh, go ahead, go to the next slide. There, perfect. And there we are celebrating the book at our Yakama Nation Museum and Cultural Center. And although you can't really see the cover there, you can look it up, Aniku Iwacha. You can also search for Virginia Beavert or my name. You'll find the book, Yakama Legends and Stories. And the cover is really beautiful. It's original artwork by Warm Springs tribal member Shailene Eagle Speaker. And it shows our spring root foods. And it's a wintertime image, and they're sleeping. And so when students get kind of busy and stressed out, I love to remind them, you know, we don't work all the time. Look at our beautiful relatives who want to teach us our traditional foods. They remind us rest is part of work. You can only do your best work if you rest. And another text we use that was on the previous slide is my book, The Anti-Way, really reclaiming relationality in education. That's something Tecumseh has really strongly advised us on, the importance of centering kinship in our work with students and in their work with each other. She says, you know, I want you to respect each other like kin. So when you see each other, you greet each other with that warmth and with that care, like you would with your relatives back home. And that's a way that simple teaching that she shared there, it helps students to really bring their teachings from their communities onto campus and make campus a home for them. And so Leilani and I love collaborating and doing amazing scholarship. That previous slide was one of our recent publications where we talk specifically about relationality in our program. It's open access, so if you would like to read that or share it with anybody, feel free to do so. And these slides are available in the documents on the platform for our gathering here today. And I think my time is about up. So my last slide just has our contact info. And then those links, you can see how we share with the public about our program. And maybe if you have feedback, go ahead and send that. Or maybe looking at what we do could be helpful for your own program. Thank you, everybody.
Mahalo
Mahalo for sharing. So we are going to be running a little short of time, so I'm going to hold questions until the end. I don't see any questions right now, but we're going to move on to our next presenter. I want to make sure we get everyone in.
The
Uh,
Yukon Koyukuk School District Career and Technical Education Department is happy to present this information. First, we would like to share a few facts about our district. 1. Yukon Koyukuk School District serves 10 extremely remote Alaska Native villages. 2. Geographically, our district is larger than the state of Washington. 3. Our Athabascan communities are on the Yukon and Koyukuk River drainages in interior Alaska. 4. You can only drive to one of our villages. The other 9 are only accessible by plane, snow machine, or boat. 5. Our students need strong CTE skills to be successful in their communities and in life. The Yukon Koyukuk School District is using the ANEP Choices Grant to provide middle and high school students the choice to participate in culturally relevant career-related opportunities. We are providing a variety of options for students to explore and prepare for their future. We are offering students the opportunity to become certified in first aid CPR. Not only does it help with jobs now as a babysitter, but is also a recognized industry credential needed for many different jobs. Our middle school students, in partnership with Iditarod Area School District, Tanana City School District, and Alaska Gateway School District, have had the opportunity to attend the Alaska Native Science and Engineering Program Middle School Academy in Anchorage. It's designed to help our rural Alaska Native students learn about careers and skills needed for careers in science, engineering, and math. This year, we sent 40 students to this week-long camp. Once students attend, then ANCEP is willing to support their career journey through additional camps, scholarships, and tutoring opportunities. Juniors and seniors had the opportunity to participate in the 2-part Career Explorers. The class consisted of 1 week in the fall and 1 week in the spring, with some homework in between. Students built their resumes, interviewed professionals in career areas of interest, toured different job sites, participated in mock interviews, learned about university classes, and obtained dual credit.
Wait, what happened? There we go.
Students were introduced to carpentry through a short-term intensive class. They learned to safely use hand and power tools by building stools and shelves. In addition, students were able to make a more advanced session and build sheds and a warming hut for the elders. In partnership with ProFlight of Alaska, YKSD is offering students to learn about aviation careers. Students are introduced to aviation and then given the opportunity to take a flight with a certified flight instructor. Students even get to try taking off, leveling out, turning, and landing. We are offering students the opportunity to build their skills relating to wilderness survival. Students learn about how to deal with hypothermia and frostbite, how to survive without many supplies, and how to start a fire in extreme circumstances. The ACE Choice Grants have been instrumental in enabling YKSD CTE to establish valuable partnerships with community leaders, paving the way for enhanced student career education and increased opportunities. These grants have empowered the district to make meaningful investments in its students' futures and build lasting relationships with local stakeholders committed to educational excellence. Through the ACE Choice Grants, YKSD CTE has demonstrated a strong commitment to equipping students with the skills and knowledge necessary to succeed in today's workforce, while also fostering a spirit of collaboration and community engagement. For more information, contact Tom Hall, YKSD's Career and Technical Education Director. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So they provided an audio presentation, but also joining us is Misty. Was wondering, Misty, if you had any short words, because we are running a little bit behind. You can come share anything. If not, we can move forward. Okay, all right. So let's move forward. Our final presentation is with Jessica Helen Lopez from NACA, or I'm sorry. What is this? NACA Inspired Schools. Hey, Jessica.
Hola, hi everybody. Like Olani said, I'm with the NISN, NACA Inspired Schools Network. NACA in itself is an acronym, and it's our flagship school, the Native American Community Academy. I'm here in Albuquerque, New Mexico this afternoon, which is where our organizational offices are in the land of Tiwa and Keres people. So thank you so much for having me. I know we are short on time, so I'm going to be quick, bold, and beautiful. Soy Chicana, Mexicana, Americana. I was a former teacher at the Native American Community Academy, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but I also teach high school dual enrollment classes, primarily poetry and Indigenous history, philosophy, and thought. Here's a slideshow that shows our current ACE sister schools. So we are a network of Indigenous schools, NISN. And again, NACA being our first school. It's a community design school, and I believe NACA is now 17 years old. Our sister schools include the American Indian Academy of Denver, AIAD, as well as Six Directions Indigenous School, SDIS, located in Gallup, New Mexico, and then the Dream Dene Charter School, which serves elementary students, and that's in Shiprock, New Mexico. We are going to be adding 2 additional schools this coming year, end of year 3 and into year 4. Another NISN school is the Raíces del Saber Chinachli school in Las Cruces, Nuevo Mexico, and it's along the borderlands of New Mexico and what we also know as Mexico. And it serves Indigenous students of the local state tribes, but also when we think about our relatives across the border and Mesoamerican culture and the Nahuatl language. And then we'll also be adding KCA, which is in the area of the Ute people in Colorado, and that's Cuyaca Academy. And so that's going to be new additions coming up. We're really excited about that. And you can move on to the next slide. So here's just a little bit an overview of NISN. You know, I wanted to show this map too, because right now we are currently located in 14 areas across New Mexico and South Dakota, and even in California. We've got 12 operating schools with 2 fellows and therefore schools in design. So it'll be a total of 14 schools. Like I said, we have schools in Denver proper, so in urban settings like Albuquerque, New Mexico, rural settings like Shiprock and even Gallup, as well as in South Dakota and in a Red Lake Nation, and then also schools opening up in Oakland. So it's across these tribal settings, rural lands, and urban settings, which is NISN. And again, it's all about community design. And we serve over 750 Indigenous students and BIPOC students and students of all backgrounds. You can go to the next slide, por favor. So here's a couple of our NISN ACE program strategies. Overall, we want to increase access to culturally relevant and high quality evidence-based educational programs. So we have some, internal methods of metrics, as well as state provided metrics that help us keep track of data and just the numbers overall. We also want to facilitate direct engagement processes with families that allow them to choose from a menu of goal-aligned services. And this is all in our grant application, but we've really taken it and made it very specific to the communities that we serve. Because the network itself is unique in that way, it's not just one school, but it's several schools that are really the grantees of this funding. And so we want to make sure that it isn't cookie cutter and standardized in a way that doesn't serve our families and our students, and therefore also our knowledge keepers and our educators and school leads, but that it's really specified and tailored to the communities, the cultural communities that are very vast. And as we know, not pan-Indian, so to speak. So we want to develop responsive engagement and feedback systems. And that all comes through the talking circles. We've had some really great talking circles recently as we're gearing up for the summer program. You can go on to the next slide, por favor. And just to throw out some numbers too, before I unpack each school, Right now, we are serving a total of 608 students across the Accessing Choice in Education programming of direct services. And when we think about unique numbers, it's closer to about 260 unique students with a total of 32 programs. But all of our proposals are just coming in for summer when we think about NACA and we think about SDIS, Six Directions, Indigenous School in Gallup. When we think about Dream Dene, I can't wait to talk a little bit more about Dream Dene in just a second. And then also AIAD, the American Indian Academy of Denver. So here's some examples of our NACA ACE programs. We have after school programming, before school programming, and sometimes even during school programming through the forms of electives. We also have cultural exchange programs. So we have Sister Beauty Club, which is utilizing plant medicine and traditional knowledges, working with female identified students. We have Capoeira Club, Native Arts and Crafts, a Caris Club. This is actually an image of the Caris Dance Club, and they actually travel together to sacred sites across New Mexico. We have a lacrosse team, athletics, soccer, Computer Crash. That's a new program this year. And it was a real need amongst our student body. And again, remember, this all comes from us having these talking circles with families, these discussions, and then also the survey results. Loom Leaders. Kids love to dance. That's the cheer and dance group. It's got something like 60 young students, all elementary, and now they're competing, and they just took first place in some competition in cheer and dance, and they're, everybody's really excited about that. Actually, this is the Zuni Cultural and Dance Program. This is the image that you see. I apologize. The New Zealand Cultural Exchange trip is really neat because that's the time that we spend with our Maori relatives in New Zealand. And every other year, NACA sends juniors and seniors, a pretty nice group of them. I would say I think it's something like 25 students go, and we exchange cultural knowledges with the Maori Institute there, the mentors and the youth. They'll be going very soon. I believe it's early next month. This isn't the only cultural exchange that the OIE ACE grant funds for our schools, but I'll go into that soon for our Denver school. But you can change the slide, por favor. So AIAD, that's the academy in Denver, and they actually just went on phase 1 of their cultural exchange to Anahola, I believe it's the island of Oahu in Hawaii. And that is also an indigenous school there. And so it was a cultural exchange in which AIAD students and their mentors, Hawaii, gracias, went to, it's Kauai to revise that, went there to, be hosted by their mentors and the youth there. And phase 2 is that they'll be coming to Denver next month. We'll be building teepees together, and there will also be a buffalo harvest and a powwow. So it'll be a week-long activities of ACE programming. And to be transparent, AIAD will be closing their doors. This is unfortunate for our students who will find themselves displaced. We have widespread population of our Native students across Denver, and AIAD really is the first of its kind when we think about indigenous, modern indigenous schools right now. But due to a lot of moving parts, and some district politics, unfortunately, the doors will close, but we are trying to look to center ourselves through the Denver Indian Center there in the city of Denver. Here's some pictures from the Anahola School Hawaii Cultural Exchange. And again, they'll be coming soon in July. We'll be hosting the students who are coming actually as service providers, who are coming as mentors, and of course, they're adult mentors and teachers and staff as well. You can go on to the next slide, please. So this is Dream Dene. What you're seeing here is in the top portion of this slide is Shima storytelling. That's Radmilla Cody and her expert team of cultural teachers that come into Dream Dene during school hours and facilitate a storytelling program through the ACE through the ACE program at Dream Dene. On the far right, you see ribbon skirt making. They hosted a fashion show recently as well, and they made matching ribbon skirt purses. And that was the fashion show took place at one of our talking circles and our PAC meetings, our Parent Association Committee meeting. And then also there's some Lego making through the lens of STEM, math. And so that's the Sundance Lego program. But Dream Dene has 37 students, K through 5. It's one of our smaller schools, but they are very mighty. This school actually boasts more programming than our other larger schools, such as NACA and AIAD and even SDIS as we're bringing them on. They have a lot going on. And what I love about what has happened for Dream Dene as a transformation, especially in year 3, year 2 was tough. We were coming off the pandemic, and as everyone knows, we've all had our respective challenges, but they really soared. They're the hummingbirds, by the way. They've really soared this year in that we had to actually build out an infrastructure for OST out of school time. There wasn't an OST, an after school program, even though DD has been a school for a few years. But we really had to build that out. And what I really loved about that is we knew that we needed some OST program coordinators. So as service providers, we were able to work with parents. So 3 out of the 4 OST program coordinators that run the program after school are parents. And so they assist in the logistics of greeting the children and providing snacks and getting materials ready, greeting the knowledge keepers, which is our facilitators, making sure everybody's going where they need to go, thinking about transportation. There was a lot of moving parts, and right now it's running. It's a really well-oiled machine, and we're getting ready to kick off summer programming there. So it's always just a bevy of really culturally rich programs across our schools, but you can really see it in DD because I went from 0 to 100 miles really quick in year 3. Their growth is just so exponential. Okay, you can move it along, por favor. SDIS, that's 6 Directions Indigenous School. We just actually had a field day with them, and we realized, hey, whenever we break bread with our families, we're going to have a lot of involvement. Folks are going to come out and help out. We've partnered with something called the Indigenous Farm Hub, and we will be hosting a two-week land-based learning, language, and culture camps this summer. And SDIS students, this is a high school, as well as NACA students will be attending those 2 separate camps. I mean, they'll be mixing together, but it'll be 2 different camps, which is great. It provides more opportunities for these students to experience this land-based learning steeped in language, which will be Dene Pasad. But SDIS, we had a great turnout. There was some dances, butterfly dance, and we made mutton, and it was delicious. And the students made it all with the vegetation grown from the Indigenous Farm Hub, whom we're partnering as a service provider. And so we're really looking forward to collaborating with SDIS, supporting them as a network and bringing this programming to fruition. So the way it works is usually we host our, semi-annual talking circles, and we put together proposals based on the responses that the families and the students provide. And then we go into our communities and we tap into our knowledge keepers or these entities and organizations that align with Indigenous education across our missions in our schools. And then we create a program. And then, of course, we have our lovely family liaisons. And you can go to the next slide, por favor. We have a team of family liaisons. That's Maya Contreras and Terja Toya Wakanda and Bianca Banali and Monique Sosi. And they've been with us since year 1. They're all stationed at various schools. And so this is the liaison not only between the families and the students, but also our service providers, our knowledge keepers, and then our school lead and staff. So they're really this glue that kind of keeps us all together. And so with them, we also kind of review the feedback that we receive from families, and also throughout the year, and thinking about their needs and wants, and then implementing that. So some of our family liaisons have gone on the cultural exchanges, and will continue to help us coordinate, the programming through the summer. Yeah, let's go on to the next slide. This is a video. Do we have time for this, Olani? If maybe just a portion of it, totally
Yeah,
understand. We don't.
Let's try it.
Okay.
And then if you folks need to leave, then that's fine. I know we're going a little over time. Want to encourage you, the next session is networking. We'll just take this video, and if you don't mind, Jessica, we'll close it out.
Yeah, sure.
And I really want to encourage, after this session, go to the networking sessions. And then also remember, with every presentation that you've been to, there is a survey that you can provide us feedback on that survey. And so let's go ahead and watch this video and let it take us out. Let's see if I can get this going. Hold on one moment. And motion.
So the students at NACA are amazing. They are creative. They aren't scared to see outside the boundaries that I put in front of them. They take everything that I teach them and they try. They never shy away from any challenge that I put in front of them. They're just amazing kiddos. We can learn so much in such a short amount of time, in which we have as well. And they just take it, and they're just loving kiddos.
So this year with ACE, Accessing Choices in Education, we were fortunate enough to, in the fall, bring in 10 different programs for our students after school. And in the spring, we added 3 more. So we have a total of 13 programs happening here at NACA. They are definitely life-changing for our students. So we brought in dance, we brought in cheer. We were fortunate enough to find a martial arts teacher that was familiar and I guess certified to teach capoeira. He also was able to teach indigenous cooking to our high school students. We brought in one of our elders from Laguna that taught moccasin making to some of our high school students. We have one of our staff that is very good at beadwork. And so he was willing to share his knowledge of beading with all our students, middle school through high school. We also have lacrosse for middle school and for elementary students. We have soccer for middle school students. This spring, we brought in traditional weaving, which is an amazing skill and something that parents have asked for many years to have in our art class, to have just as a program, because we're an indigenous school, but we just have never been able to create that program in the classroom. So being able for ACE to provide that has been a huge, something that parents have really wanted. And that's huge at our school, that we're really trying to get our parents' opinion, get our families' opinions, and really make decisions based on what they're asking for, what our students are
Son has been with NACA since the 2nd grade, and right now he's a 4th grader. He's participating in the lacrosse and capoeira ACE programs, and he's really enjoying them. Again, it's an opportunity for him to be able to socialize outside of school, and then also gives me a break to not have to rush here from work. overall good program. It incorporates art as far as like music. They play instruments. They're learning a different language. They're learning Portuguese. And then also the movement itself. It's very active. It's a lot of acrobatics. And it's really amazing to see him. He's picked it up so fast. And that just kind of strengthens my kind of theory of, what we learn, we do pass on to our kids, somehow, some way, because he's picked it up so quickly. Even playing music, that's one thing that he loves doing. And I think he also sees it as pretty similar to our culture, as far as, having music and songs and just capoeira. When you see it performed, it's very beautiful, but to learn the history behind it is a whole nother thing. And that's what he's really enjoying. So it's really starting to open him up to more worldviews. We're part Filipino too. So he already is exposed to a different culture outside of, his native culture. But with capoeira, he's really getting into it because of just overall aspects of everything that's involved.
What I love about being in dance is that you get to be comfortable, because I used to dance all the time. My mom always just watched me, but I never had the confidence to just do routines and stuff. But now that I've gotten ACE and be a dancer, it's it makes me happy because I always see other people dance and I'm I want to do that someday. So now that I get to do that, I really like it.
Awesome. Okay, I know again, thank you. Jessica, did you have any final words? Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No, not at all. Just thank you for allowing that video to play. And yeah, I appreciate the time that I got to share out about ACE programming across NISN. Gracias.
Yeah, mahalo everyone, mahalo all of our presenters and for our participants for staying on. I know this was some amazing sharing, such amazing programs. And it, I know your peers just love to hear what their other grantee peers are doing. And so thank you again for sharing. And thank you for our participants for hanging in there as we go over time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow for the final day of the OIE project directors meeting. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Aloha.